how's TAA apply to software, which
Okay.
is kind of a product, kind of a service,
Yeah.
kind of its own thing sometimes, the way it's priced, you know.
Yeah, it's so software is an interesting thing because yeah, you're right. It's often sold as the service or it's sold as a product. So and frankly, the way you sell it to the government will, I think, affect as to how it is. If you sell SaaS, software as a service, SaaS, to the government, I submit to you that it's a service, and you kind of jump through those service hoops that we just that we just talked through. I know an awful lot of companies that have it's 100% based, Indian developed, Indian tested, Indian, right? All of these things, and they say, you know what, my go-to-market strategy is I have to sell this as a software as a service. And so they market it like that. They get it on contract as that. The CLIN line item specifically describes service so that I, as a US-based company, can sell that to the government. And boom, I think that gets you most of the way there where you're meeting the TAA requirements there, even though the software might otherwise feel like it's hypothetically stamped made in India. The truth of the matter is, if you're delivering it as a service, and if the company delivering that service is established in the United States, you're clean under the TAA. So, so I think that's one of the advantages of being able to do it. And I think companies, like I said, not necessarily that they're gaming the system, but sometimes you kind of have to know and understand what's your go-to-market strategy. What can I comply with, and what can I not comply with? So so let me give you an example on that then. So software as a product. This is where it gets a little hard. Like there's decisions going back, and there's only a few, frankly, from U.S. Customs, but where they look at country of origin of software. And unfortunately, most of these decisions, and I kid you not on this, people, but I'm sorry, it is what it is. Most of these decisions relating to country of origin relate to software vis-a-vis the CD-ROM deliverable. Okay. Now, I know 1994 called, it wants its AOL dial-up discs back, but these are really the world that this came out of. And so I've had some clients, when they sell the product, they actually will sell it to the government customer, and they will stamp it to a disc or to a read-only media, and they say, here you go, here's the delivery on that. Because the idea behind it is that the software is all foreign, they can't get any really US or designated country content in there. But there is case law going back to the 80s and 90s that says, like, when you stamp, when you press, when you burn that onto media, some of these read-only media, that's a substantial transformation of sorts of the product that you're delivering to the government customer. And so I've had conversations on that with I haven't had them in the last couple of years, but in the 2010s, high technology companies where they were like, how can we deliver this software to our government customer? And I had to tell them with a straight face, you burn it to a CD and deliver it to them. And they say, are you kidding? And I said, that'll get you there. And so it's an imperfect solution. But the reason being is, look, the TAA is a 1979 statute, and it lives in a manufacturing space. And so over the last 40 plus years that the TAA body of law has built out, it's people in the government consistently trying to squeeze it in and figure out how does this square peg that is software fit into the round hole that is manufacturing. And as we know, they don't fit exactly. And so they kind of assess, well, where is it built? Where is the physical change happening to it? And some of these media cases, even though they feel so dumb today, they're still out there. They're still persuasive. And so that might be that might be a solution way to get it, where you're delivering it as a media, pressed, burned, whatever, onto read-only media in the US or a designated country. That might be able to get you over the way. The more modern way, though, the more modern way, frankly, is the direct delivery, right? You develop software, you've got it, you sell it to the government customer, they download it, they install it, they use it, and voila. There's very limited case law as far as what's going to constitute substantial transformation of this. And the cases, again, they really rely on a manufacturing type process. And so unsurprisingly, they say that it's the software build moment that they kind of point at as the crux, right? You could have 100% Indian made or Indian written source code that's written 100% by Indian engineers. And then once you bring that source code into the United States or a designated country and compile that into object code, that compilation process, that object code build, that's the process right there where it's equivalent to 100% Chinese parts being brought into the United States and being built, substantially transformed into something new and different. Now, so there's official case law on that, and I've written a blog article on that you can find at my blog, governmentcontractslawblog.com. There's not a whole lot on it. There's only about 2 or 3 decisions. The questions that I've had clients ask me is, well, what about later in the process? Okay, once I build that compile code and I do that in the United States on US-based servers, just to be safe, right? Like, then what are there other things? What if I do other things in India? Does that like corrupt this? And I don't have a perfect answer for that. I think that one thing that is clear is that the mere act of downloading it from a server, I download this off Josh Inc.'s server to install on my government laptop. That's not substantial transformation. That's merely a transfer. So there are other things that I have to do that I can do from between the build and the delivery process to the ultimate government customer that I may be able to play with. Meaning, if the build happens in India, can I do other things later on? And the answer is maybe. But at the very least, we know that the build, the government has acknowledged that as a critical step. And if you're doing at least the build in the U.S. or a designated country, everything pre-build won't matter.